Ladies and gentlemen, I, Fraud Nogo, bring you yet another cast. Daily, of course. And joining me is Veek7.
Yet another caster.
That's
Hi,
right.
it's me.
That's right.
V.
We're doing the whole rotation. You know, we went from obviously Shadow Fury to Mesk to Neblime, and now here you are. What's up, dude?
It's pretty cool. I can't wait to see some games. Have been way too long since I last experienced some of them so directly. So we'll see.
That's right. Well, today we're going to be taking a look at a single match between Neblime and ArbuzBudesh. It is on the new Germination, so that'll be interesting. I say we get rolling here and see how this two-spawn map, this mirror matchup, Protoss versus Protoss, shakes up. Neblime in the top left as, oh man, this is a tough color. Is this just orange? Oh, Scarlet. There's no way I would have ever gotten Scarlet, dude. I never see Scarlet. Scarlet Protoss in the top left.
We have ArbuzBudesh, but he's not the melon color. I think he's snow.
Yeah, so you're guessing?
Is he?
It's
No,
Alice
it's
Blue.
Alice Blue.
We've both frauded those colors, dude. That's what we wanted, though. I did call it out earlier that when I was casting Hamster and Krankendow, they both picked the same color every time, so it's super easy to know.
Yeah.
These ones are very new. All right, we're back at it. I also guess I could have probably looked at this color and thought it was tomato, but it's scarlet. That's a weird one. Anyway, since it is Protoss versus Protoss, I predict we will see gateways. Arbuz does love himself some Ecclesiasts, so you know how it is.
Oh yeah, he's the guy who's spamming Ecclesias. That style is pretty interesting. I like to see it. We'll see if he maybe mixes some Clarions. That would be really nice to see. And this update, I know, features the updated middle, which is now...
Yes, it's the sunken ground over here.
One cliff down.
Yeah.
Actually, you're on a disadvantage vision-wise and also attack range-wise. So it's very important to be careful out there. And I'm not sure if you know of any other changes. I have not caught them.
So the base that used to be an advanced worker base is now an island. So you can see of that to the upper right of the main.
Oh, I see.
Or the bottom.
That's actually kind of interesting because you can use advanced workers and you can also just island expand. So yeah, that is interesting. That's pretty smart.
Oh, look at this. The Arbuz being dirty and stealing the Vespene, slowing down the mining by ever so slightly. There's been a couple other changes here and there, like the third base is a bit more open to attack since there's an extra attack angle opened up. You can see where Arbuz's scout is. There's just more ramp in general.
I see. There's
in all
just
those
more approach area, more ground to cover.
That's right, more surface areas. So it's a little bit less safe. It's still very compact, which is probably a point in its favor for defensibility, but it's a little bit less safe for holding.
I think it's like negative space with tar next to the where the base would go is a new thing, though.
Yes, and that is new. That whole area is very new.
Yeah, so that's interesting. We'll have to see how that plays. And we see a Hierophant sniping a scribe.
That's right. Yelling coward at him. Double gate as the follow-up here. Triple gate, actually, for Arbuz. But it's going to be lattice for Neblime, so we won't see the mirror match.
And it's the manifold. And manifold got some interesting change.
Yes.
So after 1 second after attack, it will for 1 second after the attack, nearby units will have +1 armor pen, and it's stacking.
Yes.
So that's very interesting.
And the nearby is very, very nearby. It's only within 2 range. So you think about like an Izirakor's attack range or something. You know, it's pretty slim. So,
dude, I was pretty sure it was 4. 2 is actually an interesting design decision. I like.
Well, yeah, you think about the whole idea behind the unit being kind of spammable. So you want to sprinkle them in throughout your composition, but still have them be within attack range. So you know, it's like on a. You can kind of think about it from a perspective of, like, you know, there's certain units you always want to try to snipe in an enemy's comp. And, like, the Manifold becomes a unit that's higher priority, but not as, like, still not as high priority as, like, maybe an Ecclesiast, depending on how defensive it is, or, something like, obviously, a Patriarch would be more higher prio once you get into the later game tiers. But Manifolds are still, like, there's a gradient of priority, and they are a little bit bumped up there. But it looks like Neblime just wants to spam them. He doesn't want to build any other units. It's just Manifolds.
It's even more interesting because the position of them also matters.
Yes.
So, like, you may want to snipe some ones more than others.
Yep.
And I think it's a fitting behavior for the visuals and the thematic of the unit, so pretty cool. Nice to finally have something on the unit. pretty cool.
Yeah. Way back when they had their old ridiculous graphic, the rust bucket thing, they actually had something where the more manifolds you had in an area, the more movement speed they got. That was back when like Barghests had an attack range increase of the same kind. The more Barghests there was the more attack range they had. Those kind of like infinite stacking runaway mechanics were obviously, let's just say, a little bit of a challenge to make them work. But you know, now you still get some benefit to it. It's just obviously because it's armor penetration, it's kind of gated behind like how much armor your enemy is actually fielding. The number that Neblime has here is, you know, he's going up against Zealots that have 3 armor while the shields hold, and otherwise a Hierophant which has 1 armor. So I don't think he actually needs it. You know what I mean? But not this many anyway.
I don't know the surface area serves him actually. Or maybe because there's Zealots.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, the engagement does not go immediately for
the armor pen thing, right?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
What'd you say?
The red overlay on manifolds is the
yes, that's passive. The effect. Yeah, to indicate the ones that have been enchanted. The Barghest uses the same overlay since it's effectively the same buff, right? It's just +1 armor pen for the number that you have.
Oh, I see. Makes sense.
Well, the first gateway of the game for Neblime has been warped in at his natural, and Arbuz trying to see if he can go for a contain. He's behind in terms of the Nexus tempo, but he's adding an embassy faster than his opponent, so macro-wise he should be in a pretty good spot. Kind of snipe a manifold. Not exactly going to happen thanks to the Matrix, but...
You see, Neblime has to now invest into military buildings, and Arbuz is actually placing an embassy and a Nexus.
Yes.
It's just finished, actually. So.
Yep.
Interesting. The workers are even, though, so it's not bad for either of the players.
No, I mean, we would expect Arbuz to start stretching ahead here. Since he's got a soft contain on his opponent, there's no third base possible.
Yeah, I think the gateway is easily harassable, so he could definitely do that if he had the APM and the plan to do that. I don't know. No, since his army is mostly melee, right? So
yeah. No Dracodons for the weapon range to attack the gateway from afar. There's only one Dracodon.
Yeah, they're coming.
Ah, there we go. He's got the right idea. The Vassal's been around scouting a little bit. Might heckle the natural here in a moment for Neblime. Yeah, there we go. Little bit of heckling, a little bit of harassment.
Actually, buys him some mining time.
Worker count starting to stretch ahead, but there is an embassy in response for Neblime, and he is going to get a scout off on additional gateways. He's not going to see any other tech. Arbuz committing to gateway man. Interesting choices here. And no, his Draconids are going to start to tickle each other.
No whole damage, thankfully.
Yeah, this is forcing the issue, though, as you can see. Manifold trying to charge over.
Wow. Okay.
Tough engagement, right? I mean, you don't necessarily want to take this when you have a lot of melee units, and the Matrixes are just going to keep on shield restoring everything that Neblime has. So this is a tough one to charge into. Loses an Ecclesiast and falls away using the movement speed boost, and looks like Neblime has broken the contain. Pretty easy stuff.
I wonder if he should actually go back home, or if he shouldn't just like keep some presence around the middle to see stuff and whatnot. But he knows there's no like vassal swarm coming, so he saw the army. Probably would be safe to keep the presence. And his gateways are idling. I wonder what he's planning.
Yeah,
maybe a third.
Yeah, maybe he's definitely got the money for it. He's already dropped an engram, so I will say overall, Arbuz has improved a lot in terms of his macro drills and his ability to keep the workers even. But Neblime is starting to stretch ahead, and look at that, already tempo with the third. He's going to be throwing that down shortly. So just showing his macro. I mean, that's what Neblime kind of, I would say. Yeah, sure, he's had some cheeses here and there and some cheeky strats, but for the most part, he loves to build the workers, and you know,
there's a reason infinite velocity is his favorite map.
I don't know. He's told me he doesn't appreciate it. He thinks it's a little too easy to lock into.
Because of that game.
Yeah. Nobody will forget the one game you took off of him in the series on that map specifically. So he built too many workers and not enough.
I'll also never forget the Ahmed drops.
Ahmed drops. All right, well, the Vassal will be shut down finally. It got a lot of intel, though, continuing to scout, seeing nothing in the form of tech other than gateways. Neblime thinking that he can move forward. Remember, he doesn't have the support for his shield restores. The Matrixes are back home. There are no Ecclesiasts. Well, there's one Ecclesiast here. So.
big deal for the Dracadine player is the range advantage, especially on the cliff.
Yes.
But we'll see if he. I think he's out of position, so
That's
this
right.
might be bad for him. I wonder if the Nexus will just fall.
Well, it does have the armor penetration, remember, thanks to the manifold, so that will be allowing him to snipe that a little bit easier. It's starting to get to the point where it does matter quite a bit. This engagement coming in, and the tar negative space kind of... Yeah, it's kind of funneling the Arbuz forces a little bit, but there's no crowd control or splash damage, so Neblime maybe trading a little bit aggressively. He does have a Charlatan out, but it's a little bit too forward on the front line, I think. It can be focused down as soon as Arbuz realizes it, and it goes.
Trading aggressively is fine when you already denied the Nexus, right? And he actually cleaned up a whole lot of army.
Yes.
And he already has some new staff, and his field is thriving, so pretty good for Neblime.
Yep. Definitely want to trade down the military. What'd you say?
Neblime knows, scouting with Manifold, that there's no other third.
Right.
He has the intel.
It does mean that he can pretty comfortably start settling into a longer game, knowing that he's got the tempo advantage for sure, which is something that Arbuz had with his early contain, but didn't necessarily actuate. Synthetic Synod warping in.
We are seeing the rock galleries from Neblime, and a scribe is moving. He will build a
Stargate. Interesting. Okay.
So maybe there's a Barghest heavy play, I wonder.
Yeah, Barghest Manifold, maximum armor penetration.
Uh-huh.
All right, well, the Nexus is nearly finished warping in here at the third, but Arbuz only has a couple of Wardens, and the armies are passing like ships in the night on opposite sides. So we are about to enter into a territory where I think Arbuz is just going to have to make the walk of shame back home, unless he can force a destruction onto the third, which maybe is actually the better choice, especially if Neblime decides to get cold feet. He's not going to commit to the attack, and these matrices are almost certainly just going to be blown to
such a misread from Neblime. I feel like trading the Nexus and just escaping with scribes would have been so much better than for him.
Yeah, he got
was already down tempo economically.
Yeah, I know. And he like you trade the thirds, you're going to be happy with that position. But hold on, Arbuz doesn't actually focus down the Nexus. Talk about a misread. Now he's going to see if he can fight the army, but that's going to be way too much.
I don't know.
Oh, he does have reinforcements coming in from the left-hand side, his rally point, and that's going to split the fire of the Dracodans. Still a good number of them.
But we see no Kaita.
Yeah. No way to do it. He's boxed in, surrounded, and that's going to be it for Arbuz's army. A bunch of Vagrants get sniped, so some of those will end up starting to expire, but I think the real missed opportunity there was the Nexus not going down. I feel like if that happens, you're in for a much better position than Arbuz, because Neblime made, like you said, a big error of judgment there. Seeing just a couple of Wardens and falling back, even though he could have just traded. Probably killed the enemy Nexus a lot faster and then moved on, but...
Yeah, he could have also just left few units. That would also work, I think.
Yeah. All right, well, that Manifold will get sniped, but the army is in prime position to avenge it, as Arbuz attempts to throw down another Nexus. His Draconin count is starting to dwindle. He's making a Demiurge, so he has that in the book.
Oh, well, Arbuz is preparing Demiurges.
That's right, yeah. Charlatan's out. They're going to take care of that Nexus nice and easy. And the Nexus has to be remade. I think Arbuz can't get he just can't get a break, you know? His third and his fourth have both had to be canceled once. Okay, some scribes being elevated over to the position where that air-only base used to be. Now it's going to be
Charlatans with the new model.
Yeah, that's right. They
cool.
They do their thing. You know, it's a little bit more stand out in that way. But probably still more work needs to be done to make them stand out as much as they probably should. But, you know, it does the job. With the Demiurges out, it feels to me like... so Demiurges did get adjusted recently. They became... their attack speed was reduced a bit, is the critical thing. And they lost their armor penetration. So...
Yeah, tuning them down so they're not as ridiculous.
Yeah, just tune them down a little bit so that they're more, you know, because you're playing into the new passive, which is an aura, so you don't need to stack the attack as much, because it used to be an on-hit effect, right? Now look at this, spending down all the money, a bunch of rogue galleries, and a couple of ardent authorities. Remember that Neblime has those Stargates, and he's only now seemingly amassing a bit of an air force. It's going to be Gladiuses with a couple land effects.
Gladiuses here and there.
Yeah.
That's it. Neblime definitely has more economy, more army, more tech. It isn't looked up right to for Arbuz, but maybe his positioning will win him the battle here. Actually, this could be big. I don't know. No, they're missing themselves.
Yeah, Manifold charges
he's
forward.
tagging him, and let's see what's happening.
Yeah. That one goes down pretty easy, but you don't want to fight on this low ground if you can help it, especially versus Dracodins and Demiurges. So that's going to be the initial force.
If he reclaims some units,
he needs to move forward if he wants to do that, because I feel like he is going to need to take command of things. And you know what? He's doing exactly that, charging forward. But is it too forward?
Down, but it doesn't die.
No, it's staying alive. The Vagrants are starting to focus fire individual Dracodins. And remember, the Charlatans multiplying their damage output by a little bit there is going to be massive overall. The Demiurge lives with 8 HP, and reinforcements from the south, they're going to be able to turn the tide over here. You can actually have some of your Charlatans of his own,
I was actually inserting dominance again.
All right, only a couple of units transferred over. I mean, it feels like Neblime had more units there. I think some of them were caught in the third or something. He definitely could have maybe moved those forces a little bit further forward. There's a third Demiurge now. As long as you've got a good number of them, you can do some good stuff. Although, really, what I would fear is when we get to the point where we have multiple Demiurges on either team. So.
That would be so interesting if he just micros them right. Like, imagine sticking them each on one Demiurge and just like game over.
Definitely is going to start confusing the stacks of Dracodins and such. Although, again, they're pretty much guaranteed turning over to the enemy army once they get focused down, right? So, got to factor that in as well. Defense is warping in at the 4th. Remember that Neblime technically has a 5th base, or if you want to call it that. It doesn't have a ridge, but it does have a geyser and 7 minerals, so it's most of a base. And now he's thinking about taking top right, so yeah, things are looking up for Neblime's economy for sure. We'll see if he can use
Neblime keeps tap on the other island, so he makes sure Arbuz doesn't take it.
Yeah, he's just got units all over the place and all the common expansions that you're likely to have. He's sending off his manifolds since they are pretty nimble. So yeah. And that's going to stop Arbuz from being able to expand for free.
What will happen with Arden Authority, and we are seeing some Iquers.
That's right.
Slowly crawling across the map.
That's right. The Acantors are doing things.
So many Vagrants.
Yeah, the Vagrants have kind of replaced the Zealots and stuff, and it kind of makes sense. Neblime was never really a big gateway guy in this game. He didn't have a lot of them. And the reason why he's going for the Vagrants is because, of course, if you go melee versus the Demiurge, they will eventually turn over to the enemy player. So
yeah, that's right.
If you're not going to invest into, say, the Potentates or something like that to try to snipe them down, or the Mind Tyrants to stun them, then you're going to need to avoid using melee for a little bit until that count starts to thin out. They can still be good for run-bys wherever the Demiurges aren't. And now, with this 6 o'clock base being destroyed, Arbuz is kind of locked into attacking this army. It's going to be a big engagement. Here come the land effects. They're all active. They've basically disabled the entire army, but there are more reinforcements coming in from the north.
There are more Iquers.
There sure are. That's going to be real hell for the Vagrants. A couple of Zealots from Arbuz, since he has the Demiurges and his opponent doesn't.
Yeah, well, like Neblime actually, Arbuz has it. Oh.
Yeah, he has it. Not only does he have it, but he's got the land effects that have turned over, and they are doing a lot of damage to the Gladiuses. Remember the air stack. And remember the fact that they take extra damage, but they move faster in the presence of enemy units. That's a mechanic that has been added to like a statistical change to tyrannized units. So very scary. And it looks like this army is basically dead. I don't think that they're going to be able to escape. Oh, he tries to focus down the one Demiurge and he gets it, so that's at least something. But looks like he's going to offer over a lot of his other units, the Gladiuses, etc.
It looks like we're seeing Demiurges from Neblime now.
Yep, he's realized he can't beat him, so he's going to join him. Again, I think one option would definitely be if you go Prostration stage and you get enough Potentates. Their single target damage is very, very good, and their range is okay as well. So it does feel like they would be able to single out individual targets. But there is enough chaff for Arbuz that he might just be able to focus them down depending on how things go. So maybe a more surefire option here is to deny the enemy's melee in the same way. Just have Demiurge trades, but the number of Demiurges here for Arbuz is much more scary, I would say. And it's getting to that point where even though Neblime has the superior economy, aren't we a little bit worried here, Vic, about Arbuz's army? Like, it feels like he just has the better army right now.
Yep. I think so, which is really surprising. He didn't. It seemed like the cards were set for Neblime, but he's taking those like advantageous battles, and he's slowly crawling out.
Yeah, that's right. Compositionally speaking. We'll see what ends up happening. Lanifek charging forward gets shot down immediately. We do have 4 Gladiuses in the back.
Concave, that's not good.
Yeah, this is a nice engagement here for Neblime, but I think he's going to need more than just a nice one. Although the Gladiuses are starting to get a lot of bounces, the Charlatan's multiplying the projectile count. That is a big win for Neblime, thinning the herd massively.
Small non-effect. Yeah, these Gladiuses dealt so much. I wonder if retreating there wasn't a mistake. Although maybe they would just all fall.
Yeah, I feel like the Demiurges need to be right-clicking onto those Gladiuses specifically. But there are a number of targets that you want to see if you can snipe out in Arbuz's position. I mean, the enemy Demiurges being chief among them. And look at this. He's getting drawn inward a little bit. Doesn't want to get... I don't know if you want to get tunnel visioned on that top right base. Remember that the 12 o'clock is available for attacking. But Arbuz just going to fall on back a little bit.
But it would be potentially nice if those Gladiuses were sent to run by... would buy some time for Neblime.
Yes. Yeah, I think any run-bys with any units at this point would be great. You know what I mean? Like, just to throw some stuff around. If you send 12 Zealots to the 6 o'clock base, it doesn't matter that there's an Engram and 5 Wardens. They're dying.
He needs a moment to catch up with his army. He's not Zerg.
Yeah.
His production takes time, and he needs just like a few macrocycles still to catch up.
Yep. So there's some Auroras coming out now because they do end up training very, very fast, and they're very, very cheap. A lot of resources for both players here. 4 Stargates coming online for Arbuz outside of his natural.
Interesting thing for Auroras, they can now also use last orders on air units.
That's right. So when they take fatal damage, they will target air units as well as ground units. So they can kind of be useful as like disrupting air stacks or whatever.
Maybe you're the perfect unit against Lanifex.
Yeah.
I wonder.
I was thinking about that too, actually. So here's the run-by you were asking for. Gladius is hitting the bottom left. They're going to deal with the Vagrants nice and easy.
Trying an attempt of expanding.
Yep.
The whole army is coming back.
Also, I want to point out that there's one of these witnesses is... I'm pretty sure one of the witnesses got tyrannized. Yeah. There's a worshipping witness in this
funny.
Upper middle.
It's kind of sad that Neblime doesn't move with his army forward, because if he controls his main army and his harassment, I think he could deal a lot of damage. And Arbuz's army is out of position now. He's chasing those Gladiuses like there's no tomorrow. So
yeah, well, he's got 6,000 minerals in the bank as well. A couple Lanifex get started. That's the right choice in this situation.
I like this like select all units syndrome that they seem to have.
I know, yeah. Again, this is based on Brood War's engine. You got to think about it in those terms, right? Like the pathing is better when you've got less units in the area, and so on and so forth. Now, these Gladiuses are going to heckle some of these idle production structures. In fact, there's a lot of idle production right now for Arbuz. He spent down 3,000 minerals, 4,000 minerals now.
For Neblime, that's interesting. What is that? What's that about? And we see so many Auroras. But I think they will miss themselves again. Neblime spotted him, I think. He's moving his army back.
Yeah.
Or maybe not.
I'm not sure. I think he's about to watch out. Somehow he thread the needle. There's so many witnesses across the map, but none in that area. All right, Vagrants rallying, Lanifex rallying. Big engagement going to happen in the middle here, but I think the benefit is going to be on Neblime's forces. Yeah, look at that.
Neblime has slight advantage with position.
That's what he's using the Auroras for. He's going to see if he can try to focus down individual Demiurges, accompanying them with some Barghest for the armor penetration. Not a bad shout. And now it's just the siege. He's overwhelmed the force.
I did not see that coming. It's a pretty decisive victory from Neblime.
Yeah, it feels like maybe the crowd control was kind of missing there. I don't know what the Acantors were doing for most of that fight, but immediately descending on the bottom left.
The Vagrants, they got so much armor pen buff, and he also had like the height advantage on many units, so he was just DPSing like crazy.
That's right. Big engagements in this game, which is always cool to see. We've got Atreus coming on down and their stylish new graphic.
More units coming in on Arbuz 4.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what I like to see.
Yeah, getting that split engagement going, forcing Arbuz to choose between defending his bottom left and defending his fourth. And it looks like he's choosing neither right now. He does have a lot of units idling at the rally point at least. See if he can wipe this force. He's got land effects out to disable the Demiurges, but he's having to micro them a little bit on the slower side. And actually, Neblime's not paying attention. He's just going to lose out on a lot of resources. The question is, does it matter? Because he's done a lot of damage elsewhere.
I did not see these new Atreus. That's interesting.
Yeah.
He's sort of microing now.
A little bit.
He's also dealing the damage, so, and there's no scribe evacuation in the fourth.
Yeah, there's all these units idling at the rally point that Arbuz could absolutely use in this situation, but...
Neblime is also idling. All the units.
Yeah, all on his rally point at 12 o'clock, you're right.
It sort of makes me sad that both players stop at Demiurges and there's nothing more.
Yeah,
they're sort of playing the same game here. Technologically speaking.
Oh my goodness. GG has to be called. It looks like that's enough. Well, you know what? Arbuz, he gave him a good fight. And honestly, the fact that Neblime got pushed back around by Arbuz's army and then eventually had to join him with the Demiurges, I agree it would have been cool to see more other tech, but I mean, Neblime got to build like, I want to say 80% of the tech tree maybe, or maybe, I think he was only missing 2 production structures, right? Or 3 production structures, Argosy, Monument of Sin, and Prostration Stage.
Argosy's like, Didags are so good.
I know,
and they have so much potential. Which is unreal that people don't.
It's pretty sick.
Yeah, was pretty cool. And I wasn't sure who would win till the end. It seemed like Arbuz had an advantage, and I feel like if he practiced his macro a little bit, he's like map presence was better, and yeah, I don't know, if it was weird because it looked like he would lose a battle and he was winning it.
Well, what I will say about the game is that we had a lot of really cool demonstrations of some of the new tech, right? The Manifold passive, the Charlatan and Atreus changes, stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. We got to see the Demiurge rebalance as well in action, making them less significant as a combat unit. But still, some learning to do for our Protoss players in the mirror matchup. And thank you for joining me, Veek, for the cast. It was a nice banger, I thought.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
All right.
Thanks.
GG's. And we'll see you tomorrow for even more Daily Cosmonarchy.